All right, listen up, because what I'm about to tell you will make you think twice the next time you even consider buying an antique piece from a street corner or a dusty little shop tucked away in a forgotten alley. Picture this. You're wandering down a shady back alley, the kind where the air smells like old secrets and the shadows seem to breathe slowly. Then you see it. A mysterious shop covered in dust and silence. Inside, sitting alone on a shelf, is a stone idol. No price tag, no shopkeeper, just this thing, staring at you with hollow eyes that feel almost alive. And here's the kicker, it's free. Now, you know the saying, if something's free, you are the price. But your brain, being the curious little disaster it is, whispers, how bad could it be? Charming, right? That single reckless thought is the seed of the nightmare in the Bengali horror series Bhog, now streaming on Hoichoi. And trust me, you're not ready for what this show serves up. See, I recently stumbled upon Bhog, directed by Parambrata Chattopadhyay. In today's video, we're going to peel back the layers of this eerie tale, break down the story, and dive deep into its twisted ending.
But before we dive into this story, if you're new here, consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. We're aiming for 100 likes today, so hit that like button if you enjoy the content.
All right, 6 episodes. That's all it takes for Bhog to pull you in and leave you questioning everything. We open with Subesh, a man who runs a quiet little antique shop. One ordinary day, an extraordinary idol arrives. A goddess, but not one you've ever seen in your temple calendars. She holds a veena, a sword, and a skull, an unsettling combination that doesn't match any mainstream deity. Subesh's assistant, Ratan, places the idol in the store. But then, just moments later, Ratan sees her. A shadowy female figure, whispering words that chill your bones. I'm hungry, feed me. Whatever Ratan saw, it broke him. He never comes back to the shop again. And then we meet Atten, our protagonist, a high flyer at his company. Just got a promotion, life on track, sharp suit, sharper mind. But he's also a collector of old things. So now the question is, how does the horror begin to seep into Atten's life? Well, we already know he's fond of collecting antique items. And it just so happens his friend Subesh owns an antique shop. So after work, Atten heads there, partly to hang out, partly to celebrate his promotion. But mostly, fate has something else planned. Inside the shop, Atten's eyes land on her. That same strange statue, the one with the veena, sword, and skull. Something about it calls to him. He asks Subesh where it came from. Subesh shrugs. He doesn't know much, just that it's made in the Tibetan style. Turns out a nearby Chakravarti family mansion was being vacated. Generations of the family had either disappeared or moved on. The last surviving daughter was leaving for the US, selling everything in the process. Subesh got a haul of antique items dirt cheap, and among he said the Baba appeared, out of nowhere, and gave him this idol. No explanation, no history, no price, just handed it over. So yeah, Subesh has no clue what it is or what it's worth, but he sees how drawn Atten is to it and tells him to just take it. Pay later, he says. Simple. But nothing about this idol is simple. That night, they go clubbing to celebrate. Atten starts dancing with a woman. But suddenly, the lights turn blood red, the music cuts out, and once again a voice slices through the silence. I'm hungry. Atten snaps out of it, disturbed. Something feels wrong. He decides to leave. But on the drive home, he sees something chilling in the rearview mirror, his dead mother's ghost. He shakes it off, tries to forget, but the nightmare is only beginning. At home, Pushpaji is waiting. We learn she's not just a caretaker. She's the one Atten's mother entrusted with him before she passed. And ever since, Pushpaji has looked after him like a mother would. That night, Atten eats dinner and heads to bed. But sleep doesn't bring rest. It brings visions. The same spectral figure, the same cold, whispering voice. Atten jolts awake, sweating, shaken. At first, he thinks it was just a bad dream, but then he sees it. A glass shattered on the floor. Wet footprints across the room. Something was here. The next morning, Atten places the idol on a table, lights incense, offers flowers, trying to make sense of it all, trying to appease whatever this is. Later, his uncle Bose drops by. He spots the idol immediately, and he doesn't like what he sees. He tells Atten it resembles a Tibetan tantric goddess. He brings up Vajrayana Buddhism, an esoteric branch influenced by Hindu Tantra. During the 10th to 14th centuries, as India faced repeated invasions, many Buddhist monks fled to Tibet. That's how Tantra found its second home, far from its roots, but still alive. And now, pieces of it have found Atten. Bose warns him sternly, you can't just worship a tantric deity casually. Each has their own rituals, their own rules. Worship the wrong way, and you risk angering the goddess. He promises to return soon with a priest who might help identify the statue. Meanwhile, as they talk, a small detail goes unnoticed. The flower Atten had offered falls to the ground. No wind, no movement, just rejection. Later at the office, Atten starts unraveling. In the washroom, he sees bloody footprints on the floor. He hears the same disembodied voice again and again, I'm hungry, feed me. It haunts him, follows him home. And that night, shaken and desperate, Atten cuts up fruit and offers it at the idol's feet. Something primal, something instinctive. He's no longer praying, he's trying to survive. That night, he wakes again to see her, the same figure. This time, he whispers, Mum. The next night, she speaks again, the statue. She asks Atten for food, and this time, it's not just a whisper, it's a pull, a trance. It's as if the goddess has started hypnotizing Atten. From the very next day, something begins to shift. Atten grows quiet, withdrawn, detached from the world. He stops smiling, stops talking. He just sits near the idol, offering it flower garlands, fresh fruits, every day. But here's the thing, the idol doesn't accept his offerings, not once. It just waits. Meanwhile, Pushpaji starts to notice the coldness in the house, the silence. Atten's behavior is changing, too fast, too strange. One night, just past midnight, she hears the sound of a bell. It's coming from the prayer room. She tiptoes to check, and what she sees chills her. Atten, alone, praying to the idol, eyes glassy, bell in hand, and behind Pushpaji, a girl's ghostly figure stands watching. The next day, Pushpaji tells everything to Uncle Bose, who returns with a priest. The moment the priest sees the idol, he grows tense. He admits he doesn't recognize this goddess, and that's the most dangerous kind. He warns Atten, stop worshiping the unknown, but Atten snaps. He lashes out, and for the first time we see it, Atten isn't just obsessed. He's slipping into madness. His clothes are disheveled, his eyes bloodshot, he hasn't been eating or sleeping. Ironically, the very next day, Atten receives a Best Employee award at work. But none of it matters. He doesn't even celebrate. He just wants to rush home, to her, to the idol. Even his coworkers begin to notice the change. The man they once admired is now a stranger. And that night, on his way home, something strange happens. A woman suddenly steps in front of Atten's car. He slams the brakes just in time. She walks up to his window, her face calm, and says softly, I'm hungry. Her name is Damri. She tells Atten she's been thrown out by her in-laws after her husband died, that she has nowhere to go. And Atten, without thinking, without questioning, invites her home. Pushpaji is furious, but Atten insists, and so Damri stays. From the moment she enters the house, things grow darker. Atten begins to pray more often. Damri watches with quiet pleasure. She smiles at the rituals. She steps closer to the idol. Something in her eyes tells us she knows what it is. She's connected to it, maybe even born from it. Pushpaji grows suspicious. She can feel it too. She wakes up one night and lights a candle, only to see another ghostly figure watching her in the dark. Something has entered their home, something that isn't meant to live or die. Pushpaji screams. A ghostly woman stands in the shadows watching her, and then cut to black. The next day she's gone, vanished. The police arrive at Atten's home, but he barely reacts. He's lost, distant, as if he no longer lives in this world. So Uncle Bosch speaks to the police instead. And when they learn that Atten has brought a strange woman named Damri into the house, they exchange uneasy glances. That night, things take a darker turn. Damri cooks a strange, filthy meal. Atten eats it. But before he does, Damri says something chilling. You must eat before offering it to the goddess. Atten, confused, slaps himself, then places the non-veg food before the idol. He performs the ritual, eats the meal, vomits, and passes out. But later that night, Atten wakes up. He walks to the prayer room, and what he sees shakes him to his core. The idol has eaten the food. For the first time, Atten smiles. He's euphoric. That night, he prays at midnight. this time with Damri beside him. The next morning, the cycle begins. Damri feeds him a feast. He feeds the idol, prays, goes to office, returns, prays again, day after day, night after night, until things go too far. One evening, we see Atten at the crematorium, screaming, "Mother!" This becomes routine. Then one day, the police tell him Pushpaji is still missing. But Atten simply says, "Close the case. No grief, no emotion, nothing." That very night, Uncle Bosch arrives to check on him, and what he sees is horrifying. Atten dancing, eyes rolled back, muttering prayers, completely consumed. Uncle Bosch is shaken, and when he turns, he sees Damri, her eyes not human, they glow, predatory. That's it. Bosch uncle has had enough, but he rushes to find Subhash, Atten's old friend. He demands answers about the idol. Subhash finally confesses. His staff Ranan had also vanished after seeing that idol. Never came back. Something's wrong. Something not of this world. And so together they decide to track down the mysterious priest who gave the idol to Subhash. Meanwhile, Atten's behavior at the office spirals further. He brings rotten food to the canteen, food that stinks up the entire floor. He wears the same ragged clothes. The once sharp, charming Atten now looks like a ghost himself. He vomits after nearly every meal. And finally, his boss sends him on mandatory leave. That day, Atten visits the crematorium again, then wanders into a small restaurant. There, an old man approaches him. He asks Atten for half a roti. Atten offers him a piece, and the old man begins to speak. Strange things. He introduces himself as Krishna Nanda Maitra, says he's written a few books, and then in a low voice he says, "Dark forces can harm even the purest souls, but the tantra of love is stronger than any black magic." Then he gives Atten a pendant, a heavy ancient locket, and says, "Wear this. As long as it's on you, no evil can touch you." It's eerie, but in that moment we sense it. Something somewhere is still fighting for Atten. Meanwhile, Bosch uncle and Subhash finally track down the priest, and this time, he tells them everything. That idol? It's not ordinary. It is one of the Dasha Mahavidyas, the 10 goddesses of supreme wisdom. And this one is Goddess Matangi, the 9th Mahavidya. She is the mistress of unspeakable powers, often associated with taboo, hunger, and spirits. And tomorrow is the night of the new moon, which means tomorrow might be the last night of Atten's life. The priest begins revealing more secrets about the idol, about the true darkness it carries. But hold on, I'll tell you all of that in just a bit. Right now, let's go back to Atten. As soon as he wears that mysterious locket, something begins to shift. For the first time in weeks, he sees his house for what it has become, a decaying mess, a den of rot and shadows, and Atten snaps. He yells at Damri, furious. But she simply says, "I'm sick today. I can't do anything." That's when Atten notices something horrifying. Strange ritualistic symbols etched beneath the house. Dead animals, birds, cats, scattered across the floor. He's shaken. He calls the police again, asking about Pushpaji. But the response stings. "You asked us to close the case yourself." Atten now regrets it deeply. So he reaches out to a friend, asks him to help publish Pushpaji's missing photo in the newspaper. He's finally trying to make things right. But that night, the darkness fights back. 2 spirits appear, flickering, watching, and then Damri's real face is revealed. Twisted, grotesque, no longer human. Atten is frozen. Who were those other 2 spirits? Were they her victims? Were they connected to the goddess? We're not told, but the message is clear. They do not want Atten to break free. The next morning, Damri speaks in a disturbingly cheerful tone. "I'll clean everything today, but tonight, don't come home early. It's time for a grand offering to the goddess." And then she laughs. A laugh that echoes like it came straight from hell. Atten, finally thinking clearly, realizes something terrible is going to happen tonight. Meanwhile, miles away, Subhash, Bosch uncle, and the priest continue their investigation. And finally, the truth about the idol begins to emerge. The priest tells them, centuries ago in the kingdom of Sagashte, ruled a king named Tanzin Gyatso, a man no enemy could defeat, not even the feared Tibetan sorcerer Upsar Jamyang Dorje. But there was one way, one forbidden way. I'll pause here, because what happens next is tied to the very origin of this cursed idol, and to a ritual so dangerous, so unholy, that even speaking of it could invite death. And the only way to defeat Tanzin was to kill his daughter. That's right, the spies of the Tibetan Empire tried again and again to poison her. But Tanzin discovered this evil plot and found help. A mysterious figure emerged, a toxicologist, someone who could create poisons or the antidotes to save a life. And yes, he saved Tanzin's daughter. This act of defiance infuriated the Tibetan emperor. He declared war on Tanzin, but there was one problem. He still didn't know who the toxicologist was. Then came the night before the war. A storm of illness swept across the Tibetan royal family. Even the emperor himself fell sick. And in a single stroke, his entire family was wiped out. All of this was orchestrated by that same toxicologist, Sahasra Chakraborty. For centuries, Sahasra's family, the Chakrabortys, were guarded by the very idol that now haunts Atten's life. And this priest we see, his family had served the Chakrabortys as priests for generations. Back in the 16th century, the Chakraborty family moved into that house in Bengal. It was led by Vishweshwar Chakraborty, and his brother was none other than Sahasra. Now, Sahasra wasn't just a toxicologist. He was something far more dangerous. Even snakes were afraid of him. But at age 30, he vanished, seeking spiritual knowledge. For 10 years, he lived as an ascetic. Then, he traveled to Tibet, where he learned the terrifying secrets of Vajrayana Tantra from a powerful tantric guru. Armed with this forbidden knowledge, Sahasra healed Tanzin's sister and brought about the downfall of the Tibetan emperor. But he knew this power was dangerous. If the idol ever fell into the wrong hands, it could cause unimaginable destruction. So he returned to Bengal in secret. He consecrated the idol in his ancestral home, and for 600 years, the Chakrabortys lived under the goddess's protection. There was only one rule. If the Chakraborty family ever left the house, they had to pass the idol on to another human being. So when the last of the Chakrabortys left the house for good, the family priest gave the idol to Subhash for free. But he didn't realize that this would unleash disaster upon Atten. The priest now says, saving Atten is nearly impossible. Only a divine intervention could pull him out now. Meanwhile, we see Atten walking into his office. But something's different now. He's calmer, focused. He doesn't go to the crematorium this time. Instead, he heads home. And waiting for him outside the house was Bosch uncle. Uncle Bosch tells him everything, the truth about the idol, and the chilling revelation. Damri is not a normal human being. So the final confrontation draws near. The idol, Damri, the goddess, and Atten, caught in the middle of it all. What happens next changes everything. Uncle Bosch reveals something chilling, that goddess Matangi is actually the tantric form of goddess Saraswati. That's why she also carries a veena. But Matangi isn't the calm, benevolent figure we know. She is the protector of the impure, the rejected, the forgotten. And Atten, he had made a terrible mistake by worshiping this form of the goddess without understanding her true nature. And now he was paying the price. Uncle explains, when Matangi gets angry, her victims first lose the ability to think. Then comes the urge to end their own life. That's why Atten kept returning to the crematorium. The curse unfolds in stages. First, the mind collapses, then isolation. Then comes the ultimate horror, a witch arrives to destroy the soul. And that witch was Damri. She fed Atten unclean food to slowly poison his body and spirit. And tonight, on Amavasya, the new moon night, she would reveal her true form and complete her purpose to end Atten's life. Atten panics. He tells Uncle that they should run away now and return in the morning to throw the idol away. But Uncle shakes his head. This won't work, he says. This witch will chase you until she gets you. Atten, you have to face her tonight. Together, the three elders step into the house, unsure of what lies inside. Inside, Damri had already taken her real monstrous form. She was stirring a severed human hand. It was Pushpaji's. Then chaos erupts. Damri attacks Uncle and knocks him out. She lunges toward Atten, but she can't touch him because of the locket. So she uses her last weapon, manipulation. She whispers, "Take it off," and a confused, already broken Atten removes the locket. The moment he does, Damri attacks. This was the end, or so it seemed. But in that moment of darkness, Atten remembers something, the words of that mysterious old uncle who gave him the locket. Love is the greatest power, greater than any tantra. Atten remembers Uncle Bosch's care, his protection. And with one burst of strength, he grabs the locket and smashes it into Damri's skull. Her body begins to disintegrate, and in seconds, she's gone, vanished into thin air. Atten walks into the idol room and laughs strangely. The screen fades to black. In the next scene, we see Bosch's uncle wounded, being taken care of by Atten. Atten is normal now. He smiles, saying, "I threw the idol into the river." He's back at work, doing well. And once again, people are noticing him. Girls at work are texting him. One of them even invites him out. Then comes the final scene. Two drunk men stumble in the dark. One of them goes to relieve himself, and from the shadows, she appears, and she whispers, "I'm hungry." The man screams, cut to black. So friends, that was the terrifying story of the Bhog series. And while the surface plot seems straightforward, beneath it lie layers of folklore, symbolism, and unsettling truths. Let's dive into some of the key questions that linger. Section 1. Who was the Brahman? One of the most mysterious encounters in the story is this. Who was the old Brahmin who gave Atten the locket? His name? Krishnananda Maitra. They met at a quiet roadside dhaba. He handed Atten a sacred locket and said, "No dark power can touch you now." But make no mistake, Krishnananda himself wasn't the one protecting Atten. He was simply the medium. Because the true force behind that protection was Devi Durga herself, the supreme goddess, the mother of creation and destruction, the eternal protector. Remember what the priest had warned earlier? Only a divine force can save Atten now. And that's exactly what happened. Devi Durga intervened, but not with thunder or flame. She acted silently, gracefully, through the hands of a humble Brahmin. That locket wasn't just an amulet. It was Durga Ma's blessing, delivered at the moment of greatest need. A quiet act of divine mercy in a story drowning in darkness. And what about Pushpaji? Her fate is one of the most tragic. She was killed by Damri. That severed hand Atten finds? It was hers, a symbol of how even the innocent get consumed when ancient forces are disturbed. Then comes the final scene. Two drunken men find an idol washed up on a distant shore, and once again, darkness begins to stir. What does it mean? It means only one thing. The goddess has returned. But why? Because two crucial mistakes were made. One, Atten discarded the idol into the river. Instead of passing it to someone who could respect it, perform pran pratishtha, and contain its energy. Two, that idol found a new home, not with a priest, but with two unaware men. And now the curse spreads again. So yes, ends with a clear signal. There's more to come. Beyond the scares and spirits, the series whispers a deeper message, that faith without understanding is dangerous. Atten didn't respect what he held. He feared it, misunderstood it, and threw it away. And in doing so, he invited chaos. But there's another thread too. Love. Atten's love for Uncle Bosch became his emotional anchor. It gave him the strength to resist, to return, to fight. At the start, Atten was detached. He ignored Pushpaji. He kept people at a distance. He had no time for connection. But now, he's changed. He takes care of Uncle. He reconnects with others. He even considers dating again. That's not just survival. That's healing. But amidst all this, who exactly is Matangi? She's one of the 10 Mahavidyas, the fierce tantric goddesses of Hindu tradition, often seen as the shadow sister of Saraswati, ruling not only over wisdom and speech, but over the forbidden, the taboo. In true Tantra, she's not malevolent. She's a goddess of creative chaos, of edge-walking clarity. She's worshipped with leftovers, impure things, the rejected. She doesn't punish, she awakens. But in Bhog, Matangi becomes something else, hungry, furious, punishing. That's not scripture, that's storytelling. The series reimagines her, twisting a divine image into a vessel of horror, and that is deeply fascinating. And then there's Marie. Her name echoes Damori, a tantric folklore entity, not quite ghost, not quite human. In mythology, Damoris are summoned spirits, helpers in dark rituals, strange but not inherently evil. But Bhog, it wraps her in smoke and shadow, Damri becomes a widow, a seductress, a witch. She feeds, she manipulates, she destroys. But what is she really? A vessel for Matangi? Or just a projection of Atten's unraveling mind? We're never told. And maybe that's the whole point. Bhog doesn't wrap things up. It doesn't hand you closure. It lingers in your mind, in your gut. It leaves you with questions. What happens when belief turns to obsession? When devotion devours the devotee? When hunger becomes holy? So next time you see something old, dusty, forgotten, an idol on a shelf, an offering left behind, don't assume it's a blessing. But hey, there's something I still don't fully grasp. From a Western lens, Matangi's transformation into a horror figure, it almost feels like a misread. Or maybe it's something deeply cultural, something I'm not yet seeing clearly. So I have to ask you, was Bhog respectful to the myth? Or did it twist tradition for shock value? Let me know in the comments, because maybe you saw something that I missed. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, if the shadows don't get there first.